Have you ever sat silently in a room while everyone looked at you as if you were nothing, knowing that if they discovered the truth, the entire conversation would stop in an instant? That night at my wife's office party, I smiled, stayed composed, and let them laugh, because some people dig their own grave with their own words, and my wife's boss had already begun digging his. My name is Ethan Carter. I'm 38 years old, 6 feet tall, a former military intelligence officer who now works as a security consultant. I was never the type to talk much. I enjoyed the simple things in life: black coffee, peaceful mornings, and spending time with my wife, Sarah. Sarah and I had been married for 8 years. She was beautiful, intelligent, driven, and worked as a senior marketing manager at a rapidly growing tech company. I always supported her career. Long nights, pressure, business trips. I stood beside her through every part of it. One Friday evening, she stood in front of the mirror adjusting her earrings. "You're coming tonight, right?" she asked. I looked up from my laptop. "To the office party?" "Yes, everyone keeps asking about you." I smiled. "I thought the people at your company barely knew I existed." She gave a nervous laugh. "Well, I don't really talk about your job." That wasn't unusual. My work involved consulting for private clients and handling security operations. I preferred to keep those details private. When we arrived at the luxury hotel ballroom, music echoed through the room. Expensive suits, champagne glasses, and fake smiles were everywhere. Sarah introduced me to several of her coworkers. Most of them were friendly. Then I met Daniel Reynolds. Daniel was Sarah's boss, around 45 years old, wearing an expensive watch with a perfectly styled haircut. He was the kind of man who smiled without any real warmth. He shook my hand and looked me over from head to toe. "So, this is Ethan," he said. "Nice to meet you." Then he smirked. "Sarah never talks about you." Sarah laughed awkwardly. I shrugged. "I guess I'm not that interesting." "Oh, come on," Daniel said loudly. "Everyone's interesting." Something about the way he said it didn't feel right. As the evening went on, I noticed Daniel constantly keeping Sarah close to him. His hand rested on her shoulder, and he stood much closer than necessary. Maybe I was imagining it. Then came the moment that changed everything. A small group gathered near the bar talking about careers and success. Daniel raised his glass. "So, Ethan," he asked loudly, "or what exactly do you do?" I noticed several people turning to look at me. "I work in consulting." He laughed. "Consulting? That's a pretty broad answer." I smiled politely. "It keeps me busy." He glanced around at everyone. Translation: he doesn't want to tell us. A few people laughed. I stayed quiet. Daniel leaned in a little closer. "Let me guess. You work from home, make your own hours, one of those mysterious guys?" More laughter followed. Sarah looked uncomfortable. "Daniel." "No, I'm just curious," he said with a grin. "Sarah works incredibly hard. I've always wondered how a guy like Ethan manages to keep up." There it was. It wasn't curiosity, it was disrespect. I could have ended the conversation right there, but I didn't. Instead, I smiled. "You seem very interested." He laughed. "I like understanding people." 5 minutes later, Daniel had moved on, acting as though he owned the entire room. Then my phone buzzed. I looked down at the screen. A message. My eyes narrowed because the sender wasn't just another client. It was one of my most important clients. And suddenly, Daniel's face became very interesting. Earlier that evening, I hadn't recognized the company logo because Sarah's firm had recently merged with another corporation. But now everything made sense. 3 months earlier, my firm had been hired to perform a complete security assessment for a major investment group, the same investment group that had just purchased Sarah's company. And I wasn't just another consultant. I was the lead advisor responsible for executive evaluations, including management conduct, including Daniel Reynolds. I looked across the room. Daniel was laughing with a few senior executives. I walked over calmly. "Daniel." He turned toward me. "Oh, Ethan." I smiled. "I forgot to mention something." He raised an eyebrow. "Oh? I know exactly who you are." He looked confused. And starting Monday morning, I paused, you're going to find out exactly who I am. His smile vanished. Instantly. The room suddenly felt silent. Sarah stared at me. Daniel blinked. What are you talking about? Without saying another word, I pulled out my phone and showed him the incoming meeting schedule. His face turned completely pale. For the first time that entire night, he wasn't smiling anymore.